In this, you are. This is one of the greatest interviews ever. Yes.
Just open crotch.
Simultaneous stretch. That's how I always stretch.
You know, just to show that there's nothing small about this.
Hey!
Boom.
At all. This adventure is not tiny at all.
No.
Okay,
We don't do anything halfway.
Go big or go home. That's what we're talking about.
Push.
In this, you explore that dynamics and the multitude of friendships, relationships, how so many different things can happen and it culminate at once. Mm-hmm. Is this based off of real life experiences? Is this based off of people that you know, or just a combination of just everything that goes on?
I think it's a combination of all that. I mean, it's we are not Miles and Con. Like our lives have similarities to them the same way they have similarities to a lot of the friends that are informing those characters. But they're composites of people that we know, really.
Okay.
They felt like the two best characters to tell this story through and to have the story of friendship operate around, right? Like the conversation between them.
Right.
And their boiling point felt like the most palpable thing. Their big conversation was one of the first scenes that we ever wrote. We really reverse engineered a lot of the film from the last sort of two tentpole scenes. But yeah, I mean, this, a lot of the script is based on stories that either happen to us or happen to friends, like the opening scene with the Uber cars, like from earlier in my life, except I'm not me in that, I'm Colin in that story. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of it was like that. We would sit and talk about, well, I think we need to have a moment where this happens in the story, and then we would pull from our lives or pull from even the story of which we, obviously we want to get into the details, it'll spoil it a little bit, but of why Colin went to jail is pulled from a close friend of ours. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It doesn't go to the extreme in his version, but he was a bouncer, and I called him and I said, can you tell me I've sat with him, I've sat on the stool next to him for years when he's working, and I was like, well, tell me some of the worst moments, right. How did it go? Tell me some times when it almost went really bad. And built from there. A lot of it is just about finding this sincere entry point, so it felt authentic to.
And to the degree where the club he used to work at we ended up basing the bar, the fact that it's a tiki bar is sort of like that's true to that story, Mm-hmm. So as much that we could pull from real life, whether it was our real life or other people's real lives as possible, was important because we were really trying to have it be authentic, So the less we had to make up, the better.
Awesome. So I just wanted to know, you guys talk about intersectionality, you talk about racism, racial profiling, best friends, romances, a myriad of things that are intertwined within the movie. Did you learn something about yourself as you were creating it that you didn't know as you were creating these characters that you would care to share, of course?
That's interesting. I mean, I think we worked on this over such a long period of time that we have both, I hope, grown as people. I'm pretty confident I'm a better person than I was 10 years ago. So,
I fucking hope we are.
Yeah. So I mean, it's hard to pinpoint what was about the movie and what was about just growing up and becoming a better person. But I will say focusing in on this concept of Blindspotting for such a concentrated amount of time makes you hyper aware of your own biases and perceptions, and also aware of how literally everything we consume deals with that, right? Anybody who writes anything down is coming from a particular perspective. And it is an awful lot of work to examine that all the time. Yeah. But you also really have to do that work. All of us kind of, I think if we want to drastically increase our capacity for empathy as a society, that is kind of what we have to do, is think about that all the time. And we were just talking about this, all the headlines that you read, everything. Take a second to try and understand the perspective that's coming from, and also the perspective that you're approaching it with. I see things sometimes and get so instantly mad, and I have to check myself and figure out why that is. Is that justified? If it is, why did this person write that? What's the focus of that? It's a lot to think about, but it's kind of necessary work.
Well, one thing I like about, and this is without trying to do a spoiler or anything, one of the very last key scenes of the last conversation he had with the main love interest.
Oh yeah.
And how you blacked out that screen, and then it goes into you all in the truck driving. And tell me if I'm wrong for thinking like this, but I seen when you at the light and it turns green and it has a no U-turn sign, meaning there's no looking back, but you was going straight into your future.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Did I look
No.
at that?
Yeah, that's not. That, we didn't put that in there, but that's great.
There's a good chance that Carlos put
There's
that
a good,
in
yeah.
there,
There's a
actually.
good
I mean,
chance our
Okay.
director thought of that. Like we all certainly didn't put it in the script.
Okay.
That's not in the script, but that shot was meticulously set out.
You're right,
Yeah,
because
so,
when
like,
I
you-
looked at it and I looked at they're stopping and you see the no U-turn, meaning they're having a particular conversation.
Yeah.
And once the light turned green, it's basically telling you, let's drive in this, there's no looking
But
back.
you know
in
what?
it.
What I love about that is like I've watched that 400 times.
Mhm.
And you didn't notice it. Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I caught a couple other
She-
things
But
too.
this
She's
that,
a deep thinker.
But that's also what I just love
Yeah,
about
that's-
a
I mean,
film
that's
about
the best.
perception. is
Yeah.
like, we're watching
Bring
it.
your water.
it's-
That's cool.
We're watching it totally differently.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's not even just true. That's true of movies.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, everyone is having a vastly different experience when we're checking it out. And I to go back to your last question, like, what I love about the film, at least what I've gotten from it, is to just be more active about, like, being a little bit more forward about being like, but I might just be seeing this from the complete wrong place.
No, but
No.
everybody
Or-
has
or
a
I'm
different perspective on it.
Yeah, and what stands out to you just doesn't stand out to everyone else, and that's
Exactly.
not problematic. Sometimes we think of that in terms of like, oh, you're blind and I'm seeing more than you because I'm more affected by this, and that's true that we are affected by different things.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's sometimes more powerful to like take it out of this hierarchy of visibility and more just go, you have your life of experience. You've been on this planet a long time. You have your life of experiences that condition you to look at that thing, and there's merit to the things that you're seeing. It's inherently about your survival, right?
Right.
We're looking for things that help us to survive and thrive.
Right.
But if you can then have that conversation with another person in a place that isn't hostile, about like what did you pick? So when you see that you're sympathetic to this person, oh, that's interesting. I'm over here with this person, and just have the why moment. Like that's fascinating to me. You're sitting there talking, like seeing, like, oh well, this momentum has to keep going forward. Because the question we get all the time is, which I would never think to ask at the end of the movie is, are Miles and Colin still going to be friends? It's always been yes to me,
Yeah.
but it's
No, I mean,
but it's not to
they're-
everybody, which
But
is
they're
really
going,
interesting.
but they're going into that friendship with a brand new perspective.
Yeah, the
That's
perspective.
That's
With
all
a
I
That's
brand
how
new
we've
respect for
always
each other,
thought about it, too.
especially the scene when Miles and his wife or his girlfriend has that, and he said, "Please don't call me that again." You see the turning point in that. You see it, and then when he had the last conversation. When Colin had the last conversation with Val, you see the turning points in that. So when I seen the light and the no U-turn, that's when it clicked to me. I'm like, oh, okay. And then you're in a moving truck. Okay, I'm giving away too much. Okay,
the whole
so
ending. You
our
gotta-
time is up.
Oh, last question, real quick. Favorite hip hop album or musical? You get to choose which one you prefer.
Favorite hip hop album or favorite hip hop musical?
Favorite hip hop album or
Or
musical?
favorite musical?
Yes.
I don't know enough musicals to choose a favorite.
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
Nightmare Before Christmas, bro. That's my jam.
Yes, I love it.
I love that musical.
Favorite hip hop album?
For right now.
like this, just do this week.
Just do this week.
Favorite hip hop album from this week?
You can do this week.
J-Rock.
J-Rock.
for
J-Rock
Sure.
was-
J-Rock is the truth.
J-Rock killed.
Is he from Oakland?
Okay.
No, he's
No,
from
no.
Real quick,
LA.
how can people follow y'all on social media?
At Rafeal Casal. Just put it right where my hand is.
At David. I'm bad at this. Diggs.
Don't do cursive. Don't do cursive.
No, I don't think. It was just all
Do all
lowercase. I don't
caps.
capitalize
Don't-
anything. I can't.
Really appreciate it. Once again, for those who can listen to the sound of my voice, this is Cabral Briati of Six Brown Chicks. Cabral Chats rolling out. Black Chicago Industry Makers here with Lauren Miller of Sister Blog rolling out. Six Brown Chicks, etc., etc. The movie Blindspotting does hit Chicago theaters July 20th.
But the real question is, where are the other 4?
Thank you guys. Talk to you soon.